Hello everyone, we are working on lesson 3.1 to find the longest factor strings we can. So this starts off with a picture that you're going to return to multiple times for this problem. So your goal is to find sets of numbers that multiply together to equal 840. And then you'll use it like a crossword puzzle to connect them, and you can see the two examples they already gave to you. Okay, so for part A, your first question says, make a list of the factor strings for 840 in this puzzle. Order the strings by their number of factors. So you want to organize those in a way that makes sense for you. I went ahead and labeled my paper with my name, date, and the assignment that it is. For part A, you want all the factor strings for 840, and I grouped them by twos, like there's two numbers, there's three numbers that multiply together equal, then 4, 5, 6, 7. You might even need a longer factor string to equal 840. If you need 8 or 9, you can add those as well. Okay, the example they gave you was 7 times 120 equals 840. So I put that in my two number category because there are two digits, 7 and 120, that multiply together to equal 840. So that goes in this category. And then the other example had three numbers. It was a 5, 42, and 4. But I want you to notice how I wrote it. I wrote the smallest number first, 4. Then I wrote a 5, and then I wrote the largest number. So I want you to practice doing that as well. Whatever the smallest number is that you see, write it first in the list, and then progressively get to the larger number. So write them in order that you count. You're going to keep doing this until you find as many as you possibly can. You should have a whole lot of them, like 10, 20, 27, something like that, a whole bunch of them, maybe 12, something like that. Okay, and once you've done that, then it asks you to move on to B. For B, you want to pick one of the ones that you had that had two factors, and it wants you to make it so it has three factors. So I used the example they gave us. It had two factors in it. I wrote it right here with B. I wrote 7 times 120. You do not have to choose that one. You can choose any two-factor string that you find. And then you need to make it into a three-factor string. 7 was already primed, so I left it alone. And I need to figure out something that multiplies to equal 120. Or in your example, you can do a different set of numbers. But it has to be 3 factors long. For C, it says, what's the longest factor string on your list? So you're going to look at your list and find the longest factor string you can. It might be a 5, a 6, or a 7. It could be an 8. It could be any length of factor string. So you're going to write down your longest for C. And then it says, is there a longer factor string? So I put yes there is or no there is not. You can make or cannot make a longer string because, and then you need to explain. I probably should write cannot. It depends on which one you choose. Can or cannot make a longer factor string. So that is C1. For C2, it says, how do you know you found the longest factor string for any number, for 840 or anything else? So I started my sentence, you know you have the longest factor string when, and you have to figure out the answer and write it right there. Your very last problem, we're doing all of them, is strings of factors are different if they differ in a way other than the order of the factors. How many different longest factor strings are there for 840? Okay, so if you write something, let's go back to this early example. If we write 4, 5, 42, and then we write 5, 42, 4, that's the same thing. They mean that doesn't count. So once you feel like you found the longest factor string, is there another longer factor string that goes with it? Or how do you know you have the longest? So I wrote, there are blank longest factor strings for 840. So find the longest one you can, and how many are like that? Is it 1? Is it 6? Is it 2? How many are the longest ones you can find? You're going to snap a photo of this and upload it as your assignment for 3.1. I have another